Hi, I'm Phil Constantine. On this episode of Travels with Phil, we're going to be looking at the spacecraft called Europa Clipper. It's from NASA, and we're going to be looking at the mission, how it was assembled, and the liftoff in October of 2024. The most exciting thing about Europa can be summarized in one word: water. Now think about all the water on Earth and double that. That's what scientists think is on Europa. They want to go there to explore it, to understand, is this place a habitable environment that could potentially support life? Let me explain what you will see in this video. First, the Europa Clipper's mission. Second, assembling the Clipper, my trip to JPL in 2022. And finally, Europa Clipper's launch in October 2024.
In the solar system where we found life, we found that it seems to require liquid water. Liquid water is an essential component of life as we know it here on Earth. And so when we're looking for life beyond the Earth, we look for places that could have liquid water. And that has really informed our search through the solar system for places to look for life. And that's made Europa one of the best places to look.
From launch to the time we get to Jupiter is about 5.5 years. And along the way, we have a flyby of Mars and then another flyby of Earth to get gravity assists to slingshot the spacecraft out to Jupiter. Jupiter acts like a giant particle accelerator. There are charged particles trapped in Jupiter's magnetosphere that rotate with it.
And Europa sits in the worst part of that environment.
Which is why we are orbiting Jupiter and just flying by Europa.
Surface, it's covered with craters, just like our moon.
There are very few, shockingly few impact craters. So that means something is going on.
Vast subsurface ocean. There may be primitive organisms there, similar to the original primitive organisms on Earth from which we all evolved.
Or the ice and the ocean, and understand that intersection between the two. Study the chemical composition of the moon, as well as the geology and whether it's active currently.
One of the key questions right now that we have about Europa is whether or not there's plume activity.
Plumes are one way that you can definitely get ocean material to the surface. We really need a spacecraft in the system that's watching Europa to see when those plumes are happening, if they're happening.
5 of the instruments are called remote sensing instruments because they measure light reflected off Europa, like a camera or a spectrometer.
We have the visible wavelength, the near infrared, the far infrared, and the UV, the ultraviolet.
The other 4 instruments are measuring the environment around them, like sniffing gases or dust.
We have a magnetometer and a plasma instrument that are going to be studying that magnetosphere environment that Europa is sitting in and Jupiter's magnetosphere environment.
Novel ice-penetrating radar that will try to get below the ice shell.
Hi, Phil Constantine here, Travels with Phil at the Jet Propulsion Lab. Right, this is the viewing room in the spacecraft assembly facility, and so this is where you can actually watch them putting the stuff together, assembling all the various parts and testing them out to make sure they're going to work properly. It's a nice little booth.
Now, this building we're in, this is actually called our spacecraft assembly facility. And like it says, that's what we do. This is where we take the smaller pieces that have been built in other areas. We take them all together, put them together, make the whole big giant spacecraft. This room we're looking at, we call this high bay number 1. And like it implies, there's other high bays here in our facility. In fact, there's another high bay just on the other side of this building. But high bay number 1 happens to be the oldest, the largest, and most likely the most famous of all of our high bays here facility, right? Either in this room or the sister room right next door. Now, currently, they're working on a new thing called the Europa Clipper. That's what you see in front of you.
You can see the emblems for the various missions up there on the back wall. This is some of the actual text there connecting something to the overhead crane gantry system so they can lift it up, move it over to the spot where they're working on it. They have a wide variety of equipment out here, so they move the equipment back and forth to wherever they need to do their testing. That's the actual Europa Clipper test module, and they are doing the work on there. That was where the guys were waving at us, or the one guy was waving at us. And so you can see lots of different spots out here. They sometimes are working on more than one project at a time, different teams in there. But the major project now is the Europa Clipper, which is going to the moon Europa.
So if you're a basketball fan, that point of reference is with the solar arrays installed and fully deployed, it would reach almost end to end on a basketball court. If you compare it to Statue of Liberty and set it up at the feet of the statue, it reaches up to about the crown. It's a very large spacecraft with the arrays installed and fully deployed.
Is by having an electronics vault that we put our computer and some of the other sensitive electronics inside, which is made of about 1/3 of an inch of aluminum.
Chip, etched with more than 2.6 million names of those who signed on in the spirit of the poem as our message is sent on its voyage.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy with Europa Clipper, unveiling the mysteries of an enormous ocean lurking beneath the icy crust of Jupiter's moon, Europa.
Engine chamber pressures are nominal.
See that the chamber pressures are nominal as we hear. All 27 Merlin engines look great.
Rocket beginning to roll.
Hear the power telemetry on the vehicle are good there. Everything's looking really
Falcon
well.
Heavy is supersonic.
They have reduced power in the center core to get through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure on the launch vehicle as we approach that. The two side boosters at full throttle.
The view from the booster camp, back down on Earth.
And there we heard the call for max Q. The vehicle is passing through maximum dynamic pressure. Next thing up in about 2 minutes will be booster engine cutoff, where we see the two side booster engines, all 18, shut down and get ready for booster separation.
Booster engine cutoff. Side booster separation confirmed.
And there they go. There's a look from inside.
There we see stage one
stage separation confirmed.
And stage separation from the center core. Getting ready for MVAC startup, SES-1.
We're getting some applause here in the Mission Directors Center, and there you see the MVAC-D engine lighting up.
Next thing up in about 10 seconds will be fairing separation.
NYPY FTS has saved.
And the fairing has protected Europa Clipper on its ascent up into space, but once we get into space, we don't need that fairing anymore.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Fairing has separated, and those will be recovered, Daryl, by SpaceX's own recovery ship, Go Cosmos.
And there you see them falling away into space. That is the only part of this rocket that will be recovered.
The glow of the MVAC-D engine as it performs its first burn here. This is about a 3-minute and 47-second burn. Things are looking great. Matter of fact, this is one of the shortest first burns that has been done on a Falcon Heavy by SpaceX, but it is required to get us into that parking orbit for that long coast that we have to get ready for the interplanetary trajectory that we're going to need to get Europa Clipper on its way that we heard Jenny talk about to get those Earth assist slingshots as it heads on its way for its mission. So things looking really good this morning with the performance of the Falcon Heavy. MVAC is performing well, and everything looks good thus far in today's mission.
Usually those burns are the other way around, with a longer first burn and the shorter second burn, but in this case it is reversed. As we look at some crystal clear views of the MVAC-D engine, the stage 2 that's carrying Europa Clipper. Orbital light is shining both on the spacecraft, the second stage, and on planet Earth.
Center core FPS has saved.
Europa Clipper, separation confirmed.
And there you go. NASA's Europa Clipper probe, embarking on a long-awaited mission to study Jupiter's icy moon, Europa. And what a sight, Mick.
That is absolutely gorgeous, Gerald, to see Europa Clipper on its way.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to make comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button below. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the circle with my picture in it in the lower right-hand corner of the video. The arrow is pointing at it now. And once you have subscribed, you can be notified of when I have a new video posted by clicking on the bell icon in the description field below the video. Thanks again for watching.